Hello friends, my name is Amruta Haldankar. I am a trainer in tourism and aviation. Now, welcome to my session. In this session, I am going to talk about GMT, that is Greenwich Mean Time, and the concept of keeping time. We know from early days that the time was being fixed by people around the globe depending upon what was the position of the sun. So suppose if I am talking about a particular city, I am located over here and I am talking about what the time is at my place. I am relatively trying to fix that particular time with respect to what is the position of sun in the sky. So similarly, if I have sun right across my zenith, I am talking about it's 12 p.m. If it is setting across, I am talking about it being in the evening. So this was how every single person across the globe fixed the time. So let us further see what this timekeeping concept around the globe was. Till the time there were not major distances which were covered by man, there was no issues or there were no problems because every country was following its local clock and everything was without any confusion. But confusion arose when a train was taken by transcontinental, or say a ship was taken by transcontinental, crossing over the major areas or major distances. So what happened was, as soon as the world started shrinking, there arose the how are we going to keep the time? How is it going to not create confusions? Because when I'm talking about a particular train leaving from point A and going to point B, and say point A and point B are at longer distances or longer distances from one another, the position of the sun is different, and obviously the way the time has been kept is changing. So if we are talking about rail schedules or if we are talking about ship schedules in the modern times, these were the ones which were having certain confusions. So how did the world go about solving this time confusion problems? Let's see how. Now we have in front of us the globe or the earth. Now ideally the earth would be here, okay, and these are all the countries that you might be seeing. So if I'm talking about, say, a country like India, and this is the sun position on this side, and obviously the sun is not on this side, so we are roughly speaking about this entire globe being covered by sunlight on half of this part and the other half being in the darkness. So if earth is facing like this, that is India is facing exactly in front of sun, we say that India might be having a time of afternoon, and at the same time the point which is exactly behind India, that is around 180 degrees behind, we are talking about it being in dark. So this was how it was considered. Now earth rotates like this, all right, from west to east. So clearly every single city or every single position on this particular globe is facing the sun at different times. So that was what the confusion arose. So what happened now is that the world came up with coming ahead and solving this particular confusion. So how was it solved? Let us see. So now we know that earth is a sphere which is moving from west to east in a direction. Now we know that one rotation roughly takes 24 hours. We also know that the sphere is of 360 degrees. So in one particular rotation, any point at a given earth is going to cover a distance of 360 degree. So if we need to find out what is the distance in particular hour, we know that it would be 15 degree per hour. So what it means is a point at the globe will cover the distance of 15 degrees in each hour. So if I want to divide earth in say some parts of zones, it would be easier to make 24 slices. So that where the 24 time zones concept came into being. So coming back to the same concept here, this entire rotation, one rotation will be taking place for 24 hours. So if I'm talking about one particular point over here and the same point is going to return to its original place, it's going to take 24 hours for it to return. So similarly, the point which will be moving 15 degrees in 1 hour. So it was easier to divide the entire globe into 24 time zones, making sure that each time zone is approximately for 15 degrees. So that was how the concept for time zones came up. Now let us check these particular zones that we are talking about. Suppose if we have this particular area over here as a globe which has been opened by, and we can divide this into 24 zones. So roughly we know that 12 hours would be considered as day and 12 hours to be considered as night. We can easily suggest that this would be 12 zones and this will be 12 zones, a total of 24 time zones each for a degree of 15. So when this concept was brought forward, we got the earth as divided into time zones, but there was a need for a common reference point from which the time would be kept. So this particular common point was said to be the GMT, which was said to be in a Greenwich village, which is located in UK, London, near London. All right. So the reason that this was being taken was because of the observatory which was present over there. So this particular latitude which was passing through Greenwich at that time was taken as a reference point to make sure that there were the times which were kept for each of the time zones. So suppose if this particular meridian which is being passing through Greenwich is supposed to be the prime meridian. Prime means the first one, so that would be PM, and it is also known as GMT line, which means Greenwich Mean Time. So what we are talking about is a mean time, that is a time which has been, the mean time has been taken, or the average time which has been taken at this particular place. So this was considered to be as a reference point. So reference point meaning we are going to decide the time of all the places on the earth, taking into regards the time at GMT. So since we know that earth is rotating in this direction, all right, in this direction, we know that every place which is ahead of here might be considered as being ahead of GMT, while every other place which is on this side would be considered to be behind of GMT. And since earlier we know that we have divided this particular time zones as 12 time zones here and 12 time zones here, and each at a degree of 15. So this was 1 hour distance. Okay, this was 1 hour distance which we were talking about. So this was behind zone and this was ahead zone of GMT. So now if we check all of these places which will be behind, located behind or located at this particular time zones will be considered as behind GMT. In order to note down which of the cities are behind, we have included one system of writing negative. So for example, if I am talking about a place which is located at this particular meridian, it would be located 15 hours behind GMT. So it would be roughly located 1 hour behind GMT. If I want to note down GMT as being 0, 1 hour behind would be considered as -1. All right. Similarly, if I move to this particular line would be 30 degrees behind GMT, 15 here and 15 here. So that would be 30 degrees over here, and that will be considering it being 1 hour, 1 hour, that's 2 hours behind. So likewise, all of these time zones, the 12 time zones will be considered by the time as time zone as being negative. So this -1 denotes it to be GMT, whatever the time is at GMT, it will be 1 hour behind GMT. Any place which is located at this particular location will be 2 hours behind GMT, and so forth. Now we know that Earth being 360, the last meridian on this side would be ending at 180 degree. So that would be 180 degree, which will be -12 hours. So we have 12 time zones over here. Similarly, on this side we have places which are ahead. We can denote it by positive sign, or even if we do not write anything, any positive sign, it is still considered to be ahead. So if I'm talking about a particular city or a location which is located at this meridian, it will be clearly 30 degrees, so that's +2. So what it means is, if a location is located at this particular longitude, we are talking about it being 2 hours ahead of GMT. So if I know the time at GMT at a particular time of the day, I know the location of a place on any given longitude, I can easily find out the time of that particular place. So this is how the concept is. As we saw in the earlier zone, the same zones will be continued here. So this concept will go till +80 degrees, 180 degrees. So there will be 12 ahead zones of GMT which are going till +12. So that will be ahead zone and that will be behind, which is a concept which was derived in order to keep time. Now, as soon as the GMT concept was accepted by all the countries around the world, the countries started telling their own time zones, that is, they fixed it by law so that everyone around the world knows that what kind of time concept is being followed by that particular country. So, depending upon the location of the country itself fell on some time zone, so they were talking about that country being ahead or behind of GMT. Now, the problem arose when a particular country, especially the larger ones, which are spread out at different time zones. So what it means is that the country cannot follow one single time zone but has to follow multiple time zones. Let us take an example of this. Russia is a country which we know is spread out across this side. So if we are talking about its time zones, it is spread out in that much region. So obviously, if we are talking about a country over here, its reference with respect to GMT, which is passing through this particular line, is nearer to GMT, whereas this part of Russia will be much farther with GMT. So obviously the time kept by this city which is in Russia will be different by the time kept by this particular city. So what does Russia do? Russia goes ahead and gives different time zones to it. So all I need to know is, suppose if I'm talking about Moscow, Moscow would be over here. So Moscow falls under which time zone? And I need to know whether it is +4 or +3 or +2 further. So if Moscow is at +4 position, then some other city over here will be farther ahead. So it is very important to know the position of the city inside such countries in order to find out the local timekeeping concept followed at that particular location. Let us take one more example of India. India also is being spread out in more than one time zones. So what we are talking about is the western part of India and the eastern part of India are farther away. So let us check this example over here. All right, this is India. We can clearly see Rann of Kutch on this side would be farther in this particular time zone, whereas the northeastern part of India would be spread out to the next time zone. So India is a country which has fixed legally its time zone as being Indian Standard Time plus 5:30. So we are not in +5, we are following plus 5:30. That is, any given city in India is considered to be ahead of GMT by 5 hours and 30 minutes. Now let us go ahead and check in reality how does this happen. We will take certain examples which are possible if we are talking about keeping the time. All right, and let us check whether we can calculate the right local time at those places. So you can check, this will be my first example, which is we are talking about GMT. Local time at GMT would be considered to be 1200 hours, which is 12 p.m. that is daytime, 12 noon, and the date would be 21st April. So suppose if that particular local time is there at GMT, what is the time at ADD? ADD stands for Addis Ababa, which is Ethiopia. All right, now from Ethiopia's location, I know that Ethiopia would be following the time zone of +3. So if Addis Ababa is +3, suppose if I draw a quick small diagram just to know what is happening here. If this is the position of GMT, we have Addis Ababa which is said to be +3. So since it is +3, it is ahead of GMT and it is on the third time zone from GMT. All right, so if I know the local time at GMT, which is 1200 hours on 21st of April, I know that Addis Ababa is +3, that is 3 hours ahead of GMT time. So if this is 12 noon, so we are talking about 3 hours ahead. So all I have to do is just add 3 hours into the local time at GMT. All right, so that would be 1500 hours and the day would remain the same because we are not talking about midnight. So this is 21st April. So that would be the local time at Addis Ababa when GMT is at 12 noon on the 21st. Now let us check a second example wherein I'm talking about HBA, which is Hobart, which is a city wherein we have a local time of 21:45 hours on 3rd of October and local time at GMT is asked. Now Hobart is in time zone of +11. So if it is plus 11, if I know the position of GMT, suppose is here, and Hubbard would be on this side, which is plus 11. All right. So this will be Hubbard. I have the time which is given at Hubbard, which is 21:45 hours on 3rd of October. All right, and I need to know what is the local time at GMT. Now since Hubbard is 11 time zones ahead, or else 11 hours ahead of GMT, GMT would be 11 hours behind. So what am I doing is I'm going from this place behind to GMT. So I'm going to subtract how many hours? 11 hours. So let's check. We are talking about 21:45 hours, out of which I have to subtract 11. So this is what it will be, 10:45. So that is 10:45, which will be the time at GMT, and it will be on the same day. So that's 3rd of October. So GMT will be 10:45 in early morning, that is morning, which will be on 3rd of October, when Hubbard will be 21:45, 3rd October. Now those two were examples of cities which are located ahead of GMT. Let us take some cities which are located behind GMT. So we have here an example of wherein GMT has been given as local time 1700 hours on 28th April, and we have Los Angeles, whose local time has to be found out. So the first thing what I have to do is I need to know the exact position of Los Angeles, because it is in a country which is USA, which is spread across many time zones. So after noting down the position of Los Angeles, I can know which time zone it follows. So Los Angeles, say, suppose is following -7 time zone, which is Pacific time USA. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to denote where GMT is. So suppose if this particular position is of GMT, Los Angeles will be on this side, since it is minus, that is behind GMT, and if it is -7, which is Los Angeles. So we have the local time at GMT, so which is 1700 hours on 28th of April. And I need to find out Los Angeles. So if I am positioned here, all right, and I am going to go behind. Okay, why behind? Because the earth is moving on in this direction, that is from west to east. So if I'm talking about I've been here, I'm going on this side, which is behind. So that's subtraction from the local time given at GMT. So we are talking about 1700 hours. I need to subtract how many time zones? I need to subtract 7 time zones. So we are talking about subtracting 7 from 1700 hours. So I am getting the answer as being 1000 hours. And this will be on the same day, that is 28th April. So Los Angeles will be showing, the watch at Los Angeles will be showing 1000 hours on 28th April, when GMT watch might be showing 1700 hours 28th April. So that is one example. All right. Now the next example that we have here is Mexico, which is located at local time 22:30 hours 17th April, and GMT is wherein I need to find out local time. So further ahead, I need to know local time Mexico. So Mexico's location tells me that it comes under -5 time zone, that is Mexico City under Mexico follows the time zone of -5. So considering -5 is its time zone, if GMT is considered to be over here, -5 would be on this side, which will be roughly the position that Mexico holds. Now Mexico's local time given to me is 22:30 hours on 17th April. So at that time, what is the local time at GMT? So now if I can see from the position, GMT will be ahead of Mexico. So if the local time is given here, I am going to go from this side towards GMT. GMT will be ahead. So I'm going to add how much? 5 hours. So 22:30 plus 5 hours. All right. So we get over here 30, and that will be 27. Now we know that the clock strikes only 24, after that the next day starts. So right now we have 27:30. We can easily calculate by our fingertips what will be the local time. If you do not want to rely on that method, what you can do is you can simply subtract 24 hours from 27. So that gives you 3 hours, and this 30 comes down, so that's 3:30. But remember, at 24 the midnight strikes and the day changes. So if I'm talking about 17th April over here, GMT would be at 3:30, which it will be next day, so that is 18th of April. So that will be the local time and date at GMT when Mexico will be 22:30, 17th April. Now let us take some more examples. In earlier example, we were talking about GMT and some cities, but ideally that is not the case, because we are not always comparing city timings with GMT. In real life, we need to know different time zones of different cities. So we need to know what is the time at different cities and comparing their times. So we are going to take some examples over here which includes 2 different cities. Now if you can see example 5, we have Athens, which is ATH, Athens, which is a city in Greece. The local time of Athens, suppose, is given as 1800 hours on 28th of March, and we have been asked what is the local time at NAN, which is Nadi. Nadi is a city in Fiji. All right, so we need to know what is the local time. Now, like I said earlier, in order to find the local time, we need to first know what is the time zones that each of the cities are located in. So that I can know only when I know the time zone. So as I said earlier, every country has fixed by law the time zone that it follows. So from that case, what we can do is we can check the sheet which has ITA, okay, which has ITA areas and ITA time zones which are given. So clearly, after knowing which city is we are talking about, we need to know which country it is, and then we need to know which time zone it is following. So right now, Athens is in Greece, which is following +2. All right, so if I check that this will be GMT position, +2 will be somewhere here. All right, so say this will be Athens, which will be located, and the next city which we are talking about is Nadi, which is in Fiji, which is located by law in the time zone of +12. So +12 is the time zone that is followed by Nadi. So +12 will be somewhere here. All right, so this will be roughly the position of the cities that are included in this particular time zone example. So we know the Athens local time, which is 1800 hours, which is 28th of March. All right, and we have been asked Nadi. So what I have to do is I am here, all right, and I need to find out the time at Nadi. I need to know how many time zones are followed in between Athens and Nadi. So Nadi is 12, which is with reference to GMT, because we are talking about +12. So we are talking about 12 time zones from GMT, and Athens is 2 hours ahead of GMT, that is 2 time zones ahead of GMT. So clearly this particular difference will be 12 minus 2, that will be 10 hours. So Nadi will be 10 hours ahead of Athens. All right. So what are we going to do is, since I am here, Nadi will be 10 hours ahead. So I'm going to add it. Add in what? 1800 hours plus 10. All right. So this will come as 28. Now clearly we know that 28 does not strike in a watch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply subtract 24 hours. So that will give me 4 hours on the next day, 4 hours on the next day. So this date is 28. So Nadi will be at 4 hours 29th of March. So that will be the time and day, local time Nadi, when Athens is at 1800 hours 28th of March. Now let us take one more example. We have example 6th over here, where we are talking about TYO, which is Tokyo, which is in the country of Japan. All right, the local time given is 2100 hours on 17th of Jan. And what is asked is KGL, which is Kigali, which is in Rwanda, the country of Rwanda, and the local time is asked. Now again, I need to find out its exact position and know what is the time zone that has been followed by both Tokyo and Kigali. Now if I find that out, Tokyo I know is on +9, and Kigali will be on +2. All right. So if that is the case, suppose if this is GMT, okay, +2 is over here, which is the position of Rwanda. So that will be Kigali, the city. All right. +9 is Tokyo, which is on this side, which will be here. All right, local time is being given at this place, which is 2100 hours 17th of Jan. So that is 2100 hours 17th of Jan, which is at Tokyo. So I need to find what is the local time at Kigali. So clearly I am here and I am coming behind the position. All right, so that will be, I need to subtract. I need to subtract how much? I need to subtract the time difference which is between both of these cities. So Tokyo is at +9, which is with reference to GMT. Kigali is +12, which is with reference to GMT. So the time zones in between these two cities will be 9 minus 2, which will be 7 hours. All right, so Tokyo and Kigali are apart by 7 hours. So clearly if I want to subtract, I have to subtract 7 hours from 21. Okay, and which will come to be as 14. All right, so the local time at Kigali will be 1400 hours and it will be on the same date, which is 17th of Jan. All right, so clearly we can know that this was the local time if one particular city is there. Now both this example deal with the cities which were ahead of GMT. Let us take examples which are dealing with behind GMT, that is they are into negative. Let us check example 7th. Now what we have here is Buenos Aires, BUE, which is Buenos Aires, which is in the country of Argentina. The local time given in Buenos Aires is 2000 hours 18th of April. We have Mexico, the city of Mexico in Mexico country, and its local time has been asked. Now again I have to go through the same procedure, find out the exact position of the cities in that country and find out the time zone that has been fixed by that particular country. So let us find out what is it. So after finding out that Buenos Aires would be on -3 and Mexico will be on -5. All right, so in that case let us fix what will be the positions over here. If this I consider to be as a GMT, Buenos Aires will be at -3. All right, so -3 will be somewhere here, so that is Buenos Aires. Okay, next is Mexico, which will be -5 position, so this will be over here, so that is Mexico. All right, now I know the local time at Buenos Aires. So local time Buenos Aires is given to be 2000 hours at 18th of April. All right, so this is 2000 hours at 18th of April. I need to find out the local time at Mexico. Now from this you know what will be the time differences between Mexico and Buenos Aires. This particular position is with respect to GMT. So Buenos Aires is 3 hours behind GMT and Mexico is 5 hours behind GMT. So clearly this particular time difference between them will be of 2 hours, because Mexico is -5, Buenos Aires is -3, so 5 minus 3 gives you 2. So if I am here, I am going behind in order to reach Mexico. So what it means is I have to subtract how much? 2. So from 2000 hours, I need to subtract 2, which will give me 1800 hours, and it will be on the same day, that is 18th of April. So that will be the local time when I know what is the local time at Buenos Aires. All right, now let us check one more example wherein I am talking about Y2O, which is Toronto, which is in Canada. The local time which is given here is 1700 hours and the date is been given as 19th of Jan. And the local time which has been asked is at Azores Island, which is a part of Portugal. All right, so what I have to do is I have to find out again the time zones which are followed by here. Now if you know, Canada again is a spread out country which is spread out at different time zones, so I need to know exactly which time zone Toronto is following. So if I find that out, Toronto is following -5 time zone, and Azores Island, which is in Pacific, which is in Portugal, is following -1. All right, so knowing that, I will again put forth the positions. So that will be -1, which will be here, that's Azores Island, and Toronto, which will be -5 over here. All right, so that is Toronto and this one is Azores. I know the local time at Toronto, which is 1700 hours on 19th of Jan. and I need to find out what is the local time at Azores. So clearly I am here and I am trying to find Azores, which will be ahead of Toronto. Alright, now this is GMT. I know Azores location is -1 from GMT. Toronto is -5 from GMT. So if I want to know the time zone difference between these two, it will be 5 minus 1, that will come as 4 hours. So what is happening over here is Azores will be ahead of Toronto by 4 hours, or else Toronto will be behind Azores by 4 hours. So clearly, if I want to know the local time at Azores, I'm going to add 4 hours to the local time of Toronto. So that is addition of 4 hours. So 17 plus 4 will give me 21. Alright, so that will be the local time at Azores, and the date will remain the same, that is 19th of Jan. So that is how we can find out local times for if I am being asked as positive cities, that is ahead of GMT, and negative cities, that is behind of GMTs. Now in earlier examples, we have compared the times between GMT and a negative city, GMT and a positive city. Then we moved ahead comparing time between two positive cities and two negative cities. But it may not always be the case. So let us take some examples wherein we are comparing time zones between cities which are located one behind and one ahead of GMT. One such example is over here, which is example 9. We have Delhi. Alright, DEL, which is in India. The local time which is given at Delhi is 23:45 hours, 17th of August. Alright, next what has been asked is UIO. UIO is standing for Quito, which is in Ecuador, and the local time at Ecuador is asked. Now, like I said earlier, we need to know exact position of that particular city, that particular country, and we need to know the time zones which are fixed by law. So now we know that Delhi, India, has Indian Standard Time as plus 5:30. That is, India is considered to be following the time zone as plus 5:30. That is, it is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of GMT. Whereas Quito, Ecuador, follows -5 time zone, which means that it is 5 hours behind GMT. So suppose if I fix the position over here of GMT, plus 5:30 position of Delhi will come at this place. So this will be 5 hours 30 minutes Delhi. Alright. And if I want to fix the position of Quito, Quito I know is -5. So it will be behind GMT -5. So that will be the position of Quito. Now I know the local time which is given at Delhi is 23:45. So this is 23:45 hours, and it is at 17th of August. On 17th of August, and I need to find out what is the time at Quito at that exact moment. So now I know that Delhi is 5 hours and 30 minutes. So this particular distance or time zone will be of 5 hours and 30 minutes, whereas Quito's, whose reference point is -5, that is 5 hours from GMT, which is behind 5 hours. Okay, so if I need to know how many time zones are between Quito and Delhi, I need to add up these both time zones, alright, irrespective of positive and negative. So what I'm trying to know is how many time zones or how many hours are in between Delhi and Quito. So we are talking about 5 hours and we are talking about 5 hours 30 minutes. So the total would be 10 hours and 30 minutes. Alright, so what it means is Delhi and Quito are 10 hours 30 minutes apart from each other. So suppose if I am here and I am therefore going behind in order to meet Quito. Why? Because this is the direction. This is the direction in which the rotation of Earth is there. So this will be clearly behind Delhi. So how behind? So that's 10 hours 30 minutes behind. So this is local time at Delhi, that is 23:45 minutes, which are shown local time Delhi. I need to subtract 10 hours 30 minutes from it. So that's 10 and 30 minutes over here. So 45 minutes subtracting 30 minutes. So that gives me balance of 15, and 23 minus 10, that gives me 13. So we are talking about 13 hours 15 minutes, which is shown in a watch at Quito on 17th of August, when the watch at Delhi is showing me the time of 23:45, 17th August. All right, so that is how we can calculate. Let us take one more example over here. This is one classic example which we have. PPT, which is Papiti, which is in French Polynesia, and this will be 5 hours and 18th August. All right, then comes Auckland, which is here, and the local time has been asked. So we have over here, okay, this will be 5 hours at 18th August, Auckland, which is in New Zealand, and its local time is taken. Now I need to again find out the time zone which is there. So Papiti is located at -10 time zone, and Auckland is located at +12 time zone. So we are talking about GMT over here. Okay, let us first fix the positions with respect to where the cities are. So if Papiti is at -10, we are talking about -10, which will be behind GMT. So that will be Papiti. All right, and Auckland, which will be +12. So that will be somewhere here. All right, so that's Auckland. The local time is given at Papiti, which is here, that is 5 hours and that too at 18th of August. All right, so now again I need to know what are the time zones in between. Papiti is 10 hours behind GMT, so we are talking about this as 10 hours. And Auckland is +12, so we are talking about this particular hours, which are again 12 hours. So if I need to know how many total time zones are there between Papiti and Auckland, I need to simply add up 10 and 12. That will be 22 time zones. Okay, so what it means is Auckland and Papiti are 22 hours apart from each other. Now I know the local time over here, and I am going ahead to meet up Auckland. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this particular local time and add the difference of the time, which is 22 hours. So I have 5 plus 22. Okay, so that will give me 27. Okay, again 27 is not the time that is being shown in a watch, so I will subtract 24 from there, so that gives me 3. So 3 hours, and again midnight the date changes. So if this is on 18th of August, 3 will be striking at 19th of August on Auckland. Okay, so it's an interesting example, because if we actually check the physical distance between this both the places on Earth, it is quite less. But if we check the GMT, or the time reference distance between both of them, they are quite apart. And how about approximately about 1 day? So this all happens because of GMT and the positions of cities. So I hope the examples given here have been pretty much useful, and have helped you to have a clear idea about GMT, its concept, and how it is useful in keeping time. So I hope you can easily make sure that how you're comparing the times and telling time difference between two cities. I hope this session gives you another insight about the world and its time differences. So you can find my profile on LinkedIn for any kind of queries if you have any. And thank you for being patient with this particular session. Have a great day.